Out of Paris with more from local members of Congress. Paris.
Thanks, Brandis. Earlier in the program, we discussed immigration legislation. Now Representatives Robin Kelly, Adam Kinzinger, and Raja Krishnamoorthi join us once again. Congressman Krishnamoorthi, let's talk about the economic stimulus. The House is taking up an extension right now of the PPP, Paycheck Protection Program. Why is that needed?
Unfortunately, a lot of the payroll protection program funds ended up going to connected businesses with relationships with banks, and really cut out a lot of the smaller businesses and some of the ones that, quite frankly, need the money the most. And so what we did in this particular American Rescue Plan was at least two things. One, establish certain grant programs so that certain types of businesses could get access to them, such as restaurants, which are absolutely getting decimated in my district and pretty much everywhere in this country. And then secondly, making sure that more types of lenders, more diverse lenders are able to participate so that we can get money into underserved areas and to smaller and smaller businesses that are still struggling. Without these types of extensions, we're not going to be able to revive the businesses that will help power our economy forward.
And Congressman Kinzinger, the Small Business Association Inspector General found something like 4,200 businesses were accidentally paid twice by the PPP, underscoring some of the hiccups with this system. Why should Americans have confidence that these loans will get into the right hands? Small businesses, not giant corporations that don't need them.
Well, I think you have to look at the grandiosity of this program. And really, a month, this program was written in something that we never expected. It was really successful, and I think keeping the economy on idle. We're about to see a massive resurge of the economy, and I think that can be largely in part thanks to the payroll protection program. But I tell you, when you roll something out that quickly, and even if you take a year or two to do it, you're going to have things that fall through the crack, and you can turn them into, outrageous stories, or you can actually just look at it, learn from it, and make it better. And so I think we need to be very careful to just try to find the outrage and look at this and say, this was actually a very successful program. It goes to show that the government can play a role in moments like this, but there is still nothing that replaces the free market. And this helped keep the free market, the coals on the fire, and hopefully we're ready to take off soon.
All right, I want to move on to the Equal Rights Amendment. Congresswoman Kelly, the House is considering removing a deadline to have states ratify this amendment, although a judge ruled that it's too late. I mean, the process has to start over because there was a deadline for states to either support this or not. So what do you want the House to do at this point?
Well, I want us to pass the legislation. Women are still paid less for doing the same work as men. Women business owners don't have the same access to capital that men have, and women still don't have full autonomy over their own bodies. This legislation is needed, so I want us to push on and hopefully pass it.
Congressman Krishnamoorthi, does Congress need to start over on an amendment given the deadline that was in this initial amendment, or can it just make that deadline moot?
I'd like to see it become moot, and I'd like to see us continue the fight to get this ratified. I'm just reminded of that Gloria Steinem saying, a woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle. And at this point in time, that saying is even more true. And yet we're not treating women the way that we should. And we have to make sure that this Equal Rights Amendment passes so that my daughter and everyone else can enjoy the full benefits and privileges of being an American and can really live up to their God-given potential.
Congressman Kinzinger, moving on to Capitol safety, where is the country right now on a 9/11 type commission to really probe and get to the bottom of all the events on January 6th? It appears that some of these congressional efforts have stalled a little bit.
Yeah, it's sad. We're really nowhere. I actually think what we need to do, and there's a billion ideas floated. I think we actually need 5 Republicans, 5 Democrats, 4, whatever that is. I think we should look at retired members of Congress that are not going to be out there to make political points, to take a real look at what happened in the rhetoric, what happened in the security, and get to the bottom line of this. I mean, there's no doubt that there are members of Congress and the former president that fomented what happened on January 6th. That needs exposed. I'm sure that will be also through the legal system. But then to find out, why was the Capitol so easily broken into, when I think all three of us on this call assume that there were plans in place for, if something like that happened, being evacuated, reinforced doors and everything else. So we do need answers, and I just hope we can get away from the politics of what this means and actually get to the safety of it. And that's why I think moving it into the realm of possibly retired members that have a lot of respect and nothing to gain or lose might be a good solution.
When you say the members of Congress and their actions, do you believe some of those members do have legal exposure for whatever their role might have been?
Yeah, certainly. I think if you are at a rally inciting violence or inciting insurrection, and that's actually be a legal decision, not one I can make, but then you certainly bear that like any other citizen would. The only thing we have as members of Congress that are protected is speech and debate. That basically covers what we say on the floor and those communications with each other. But that doesn't mean that we can go out in front of a crowd and incite violence. We have a First Amendment right in this country, but that doesn't include yelling fire in theater.
Congresswoman Kelly, what about that? Is there an appetite to put together an equally bipartisan commission? Speaker Pelosi has said she wanted 7 Democrats, 4 Republicans. What about Congressman Kinzinger's request there? I
would certainly agree with it. I'm fine with an equal number of Democrats and an equal number of Republicans. We were all put in danger, and I do think some of our colleagues should face some consequences for what they did. They put our lives in danger. I was one of the people left in the gallery on my hands and knees praying that I was going to get out with about 20, 25 of my other colleagues. So I would be fine with something put together where it's, 5 and 5. But I think we do need to do something to further investigate what happened. And I do think those colleagues that were involved, that they should certainly get in trouble. The tour that went on the day before, the speaking at the rally, we need to look at all of that.
In fact, we did talk to all 3 of you either on that day or around that day, and you all spoke to the terror that you did feel that way. We're going to have to leave it there. Our thanks to Representatives Robin Kelly, Adam Kinzinger, and Raja Krishnamoorthi. Thank you.